guys have had an interesting training camp period, getting to know a new offensive coordinator, coming off that NFC South championship last year for the Bucs. And that's where I want to start with you, Jay. What have been your first impressions of Liam Coen taking over for Dave Canales, who obviously left for Carolina after the job that he did last year, leading a resurgent year for Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, really night and day. Just looking at one training camp to the next. I mean, one of the things that was, and we're always looking for things on radio, right? What are we hearing from the coaches as the season goes on? And I mean, we were befuddled. Week 18 last year, Dave Canales is talking about, we're still trying to find our identity. We're still trying to figure this out. That's the last thing you want to hear from your offensive coordinator. If you haven't established your identity by week 18, you get a guy like Liam Coen that comes in, he knows exactly what he wants to do. He's coming from that, obviously the Sean McVay coaching tree. And even just something that he said yesterday as the team gets prepared for the game on Sunday, he's talking about experience. And, the Buccaneers have a slew of running backs that are pretty good behind Rashad White and Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker. And Liam Coen came out and said, listen, everybody wants to say, hey, how do we divvy up the carries? Let's not worry about that. In my experience, 3 running backs sometimes is too much. Let's just focus on our bell cow guy and then work everybody else in there. And just speaking from experience, the swagger that he has, the confidence that he has, it's night and day from Dave Canales. So there's a lot of expectations when it comes to the offense, as good as they were last year, even taking another step forward this season.
So that's kind of fascinating to hear, because it sounds like was Canales not as well liked locally, perhaps, as the people that were talking about him nationally? Maybe that is an expectations thing versus seeing it every day. Like, was Canales actually not that well liked amongst Tampa folk?
I wouldn't say well liked, because he is an amazing human being. Like, this guy, he's a special guy. He really is. Calling plays just wasn't his strength. And we said on our show that, Dave Canales, in the long run, might end up being a better head coach than an offensive coordinator, because he has a lot of respect, but he just didn't establish an identity. I mean, you scored 9 points in the last game of the year against a woeful Carolina team. People really weren't upset and crying that Dave Canales moved on to Carolina. And it was kind of weird to hear that narrative over the last couple of months of people saying, well, I wonder if Baker is going to be able to, do the job again for the second straight year with the Buccaneers without Dave Canales. Well, Dave Canales, I don't think really put his players in a position to succeed. And I know I'm not the only person in the Tampa Bay area to say that. All 19 games last year, the 17 regular season games and the 2 postseason games, not one touchdown on the opening drive for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Questionable third down calls, inability to run the football, last in the NFL. They did all that, and they still won the division. The sky's the limit, I think, for this offense. And, Liam Coen and Dave Canales, it's a well-received change in the Bay Area, that's for sure.
That is fascinating. That was a storyline that I was not aware of. Jay Recher, this is why we do this segment.
I'm here for you, baby. I'm here for you, Craig.
This is why we do Not My Beat, where we get the inside scoop from people that, it is their beat. It is what they cover every day. I am curious, though, Jay, what your beat thinks about our beat, if you will. Expectations for Washington are all over the place. There's all these rumblings in league circles that people are really excited about Jaden Daniels. There's also a lot of national analysts or people outside of here that think the Commanders are going to absolutely stink. What has been the talk in Tampa this week about your first opponent, the team that I spend my days talking about?
Well, it's kind of ironic because Jaden Daniels' last game was actually, even though he didn't play in it, for LSU was he was on the sidelines for the ReliaQuest Bowl at Raymond James Stadium. So we saw Jaden jumping up and down. I was like, oh, interesting where he's going to play next year. Ironically enough, his first game as a professional in that same building at Raymond James Stadium against the Buccaneers. Yeah, it's kind of varied, kind of like what you just said, but I know there is kind of an overriding sentiment, at least on our station on WDAE, to not take Washington lightly because of the respect. We've seen Dan Quinn before, right? When he was with the Falcons, saw him 2 times a year playing against the Buccaneers, knowing going to the Super Bowl. There's a lot of love and respect for a guy like Bobby Wagner, knowing that, hey, when your quarterback of the defense is a guy that's probably going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, the defense is going to be, at least on their P's and Q's. A lot of respect for Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen on the defensive line there. Maybe in the secondary, I think that's where the Buccaneers, or at least Tampa Bay fans, look at it and say, hey, all right, this is where, we could have any advantage here, especially with guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. But even though a young quarterback with Jaden Daniels, we have had, even though it was pre-Todd Bowles, some terrible experiences for the Buccaneers against rookie quarterbacks, against backup quarterbacks. So even though there's a lot of confidence when it comes to the Buccaneers, in no way, shape, or form is anybody kind of looking past this game. There's still a lot of respect for a team that I think there's a lot of varying opinions on what's going to happen. I actually had them, slightly missing the playoffs when we did our predictions on Wednesday. I'm higher on Washington than most others.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying not to get too caught up in the hype around here of all the things that are going in the right direction. It's not that I don't think they're going in the right direction. It's just I realize how long the path is that they have to walk in said direction, considering the starting point. Obviously, it's going to be there's a couple bumps in that road very early on that Todd Bowles is going to throw at Jaden Daniels, Cliff Kingsbury, and this offense. What's it been like to cover Bowles, and what kind of strategies and what kind of things do you think Bowles employs to try to trip up this rookie quarterback this weekend?
One thing I've learned about Todd Bowles, and I had a very kind of unique experience because I'm originally from New York, and half of my family is Jets fans, the other half is Giants fans. So, the Jets side they were so anti-Todd Bowles. And when they saw that he got hired in Tampa Bay, they were like, good luck, this isn't going to work out. And I had my reservations too. But one thing that we've seen with Todd Bowles is in the last couple of years, and you saw yesterday in the press conference or the other day in the press conference when he's banging the table saying that he's excited, he's kind of changing, and he's kind of adapting to the new style, to the new players, and the players love him. There's so much respect for Todd Bowles. He's an evil genius on defense. He'll drop big old Vita Vea in the coverage. He'll be rushing from anywhere and everywhere, and he relishes these challenges against these young quarterbacks that not only going to be able to make plays in the pocket, but also use their legs. And that's why I think a big part of this game is going to be how the contain is going to be on the outside. I look for a guy like Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, who at times has been very over-aggressive and over-pursues. If he does not contain that backside, Jaden Daniels can really cause some issue for this Buccaneers defense. Todd Bowles is going to have a lot of exotic blitzes, but he's going to make sure that he's going to put those guys in a position to succeed on Sunday.
And then full circle, what do you think is the biggest key? I say full circle because I think I know where you're going to go here based off of what we've said so far. But what do you think the biggest key is for the Bucs on Sunday if they want to take down Washington in this opener?
I think it's for them. It's just not trying to recreate the wheel here. Run the football. We just spoke about it a little bit before about how there was the worst rushing attack in the NFL. You draft Graham Barton with that first round pick out of Duke. He's won that center job. You got Ben Bredesen, the veteran left guard, to go with the other 3/5 of your offensive line. That's pretty good. I think if the Buccaneers, you win the turnover battle, run the football, and just kind of contain Jaden Daniels, I think they give themselves a good opportunity. If this game, it's almost like a boxing match, right? If you just box and you use your jab, you'll be in good shape. But if you get into a firefight, I think that's when you kind of leave yourself open to the possibility of letting Jaden Daniels go, get out in space. If he can do that, then throw the script out of the window, man. You just never know. And, hey, it's the NFL. You never really have an idea until the game actually happens.
No, that's true because everything you says sounds good. I would actually go the other way, to be honest with you, Jay. As Jay Recher is our guest here from WDAE in Tampa, if I was the Bucs, I'd be like, all right, Emmanuel Forbes, all right, Benjamin St. Juice, you're apparently going to be better coach this year. Let's see what you got. And I would I would try to make the Commanders chase the game and know that I've got this blitz package and he's a rookie quarterback. I actually think that if the game becomes a bit more of a slugfest, that Brian Robinson's getting a bunch of carries for Washington and they're not testing those corners or Tampa's not having Washington's corners tested. I actually wonder if that tips in the favor of the Commanders.
Yeah, it's a good point. And it's listen, I think we always go back to running the football, right? And the games are always won and lost on the line of scrimmage. So I think looking at that very early on, I think we've noticed that throughout the first couple of weeks in the college season, as well as the game last night, you win that battle in the trenches, whoever's stronger at the line of scrimmage, even early on in the game, you can kind of tell how it's going to look later on. And, whoever wins that, it's going to be a good contest either way.
No doubt about it. Jay Recher, if you want Tampa side of things, you can check out what he was doing all week long down on WDAE. Jay, really appreciate the time and enjoy the opening weekend of the NFL.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate you having me. Talk to you again soon. Thanks.
That sounds good. Jay Recher, everybody, with us here on The Hoffman Show.
This is The Hoffman Show on the T980 and the Odyssey app.